All right, we are about to get into a story that honestly sounds like it was pulled straight from a sci-fi movie, but I promise you this is 100% real. It's all about how one of the smallest creatures in nature has been trained to be, well, a kind of high-stakes detective, a tiny secret agent you would never, ever suspect.
So let's just jump right in with the big question. I want you to really think about this for a second. Can a tiny fuzzy honeybee actually sniff out a bomb? I mean, it sounds completely ridiculous, doesn't it? A little insect versus a powerful explosive?
Well, the answer, believe it or not, is yes. A big yes. But there's a catch, and it's a pretty sweet one. They can do it, but only when scientists offer them their absolute favorite thing in the world, a tasty, sugary reward.
Now, this isn't just some clever party trick. This is a story about some seriously incredible scientific thinking. And it introduces us to what you could call the Bee Bomb Squad, a team made up of the most unlikely detectives you could possibly imagine. And this is just fascinating. Scientists have literally figured out a way to train honeybees to do something very specific, a reflex, really. They stick out their little tongues the very instant they smell the chemicals and explosives like TNT. Wild, right? So the big question is, how on earth is that even possible? I mean, how do you teach a bee to do something so specific? Well, it all boils down to a pretty classic scientific method. It's all about the science of scent training.
The official name for it is stimulus response training, and the core idea is actually pretty simple. You take a signal, a stimulus, like a certain smell, and you teach an animal to connect that signal with an action by giving it a reward. It's a fundamental learning principle you can see all across the animal kingdom.
So, for our little honeybee detectives, here's how it breaks down. It's this brilliant four-step process. First, scientists introduce the bee to the scent of TNT. Then, step 2, they immediately give the bee that sweet reward of sugar water. You do that over and over, and you get to step 3, association. The bee's brain literally builds a connection between that specific smell and a yummy treat. And that leads to the final, amazing step, detection. Now, when the bee smells TNT all by itself, its tongue just pops right out because it's expecting sugar.
And as completely mind-blowing as this is, it turns out this kind of thing isn't just a bee thing. This experiment is really just one part of a much bigger, much more fascinating pattern of discovery that's showing us all these incredible capabilities hidden inside the animal kingdom. Our bomb-sniffing honeybees are actually in some pretty amazing company. Get this, scientists have also taught goldfish to drive little vehicles to get a reward. Yes, you heard that right, driving goldfish. And of course, there have been countless experiments with rats that explore this exact same stimulus response mechanism. We are surrounded by animal geniuses.
So, the really important thing to get here is that these aren't just quirky, isolated little experiments. They're all pieces of a much bigger scientific puzzle. A whole field that's exploring the amazing and frankly often underestimated ability of animals to be trained for tasks that are both super specific and incredibly complex.
So, what does all of this mean? Where is this all going? Well, it brings us to the bigger picture and a really cool idea you can think of as nature's hidden tech.
This quote from the research just sums it up perfectly. Effectively turning a hive into a living bomb detector. Just let that sink in for a moment. We're not talking about a machine or some fancy new sensor. We're talking about an entire colony of bees, a living hive, working together as one big detection.
So why does all this matter? The takeaway is really simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. It means the natural world is just packed with potential we haven't even begun to tap into. We're not just learning new things about animals, we're figuring out new ways to partner with them, using their natural abilities as a kind of living technology. And that, of course, leaves us with one final, fascinating question to chew on. If we can train bees to find bombs just by giving them a little sugar, what else is out there? What other huge, complicated problems could the amazing creatures of the natural world actually help us solve?